Well, good morning. As I said, I'm Tad Leithead, and I'm here this morning to talk to 1,000 of my closest friends about the state of this region. Now, about a week ago, I chickened out. I've been trying to find somebody who would give this speech for me, and I couldn't find any takers. So here I am to talk to you and to try to articulate for this group the state of this great region. And as I was preparing my remarks, as a matter of fact, at about 3 o'clock this morning, my mind went back to something that Abraham Lincoln said a long time ago. He told a story about a man that he knew, and many of you probably know this story. But he told a story about a man that he knew who had been convicted of a crime and had been tarred and feathered and run out of town on a rail. And after he was outside of town, a reporter asked him how he felt. And his answer was, if it weren't for the honor of the thing, I'd just as soon be someplace else. And I understood in the middle of the night last night exactly how that fella felt. But the fact is that I'm honored to be here this morning to talk about what I believe is the state of the most important region in the country. But in order to frame my comments, I want to go back a year. Roughly a year ago today, it was actually November, so 11 and a half months ago, I gave this speech to many of you with regard to the state of our region. And I want to remind you of where we were there at that time. We were 2 weeks off of a unanimous vote by the Regional Roundtable with regard to a $6.14 billion referendum that over time would infuse $8.5 billion into our economy for transportation based on a referendum that would be held on July the 31st of 2012. I believed on that day, and I believe on this day, that the unanimous vote under the leadership of the Executive Committee and the leadership of the Mayor of Norcross, Bucky Johnson, that the unanimous vote with regard to a regional project list was the most significant shining moment we've ever experienced in our region with regard to regional cooperation and regional thinking. And I was very, very proud of both the Roundtable and the Atlanta Regional Commission on that day. But remember that transportation wasn't the only issue on the agenda. This time last year, we were facing a draconian ruling by a Superior Court judge that we were not entitled to consume water in Lake Lanier. We were leading, or in the top three anyway, in the nation in terms of foreclosures. Housing prices were plummeting. Jobless rates were rising. We were adding population and losing jobs at the same time. Our fastest growing demographic was the aging population, those over 65. And we were strained to figure out how we could continue to provide services and programs that would support the fastest growing demographic in our region, those of us who are over 65. So what's happened in the last year? For those of you who are not aware, the referendum failed on July the 31st. The transportation tax did not pass. On the other hand, we got a ruling from another court that overruled the ruling that we were not entitled to water in Lake Lanier. Not only ruled that we were entitled to consume water from Lake Lanier, but instructed the Corps of Engineers to develop a new water management plan that would provide drinking water to this region for the future, and which would develop a water management plan that would also serve our friends downstream with regard to their critical needs. In a time when we were losing jobs, our Workforce Development Committee worked with almost 60,000 people in our region to provide them with training, facilities, and opportunities to find a job within our region. Over the last few months, foreclosures have turned around. Foreclosures are beginning to diminish. And with regard to our aging population, we did an extraordinary job under the leadership of Kathy Berger and others in our Aging Services Division of designing and implementing programs for the aging, particularly with regard to making the distinction between community care and acute care for our rapidly aging population. So it was quite a year. And although the failure of the referendum has dominated the dialogue, we had many victories, many accomplishments as a region, and we should be proud of that. But I will tell you, and no one in this room will be surprised, that since July the 31st, many of you in this room, and virtually everyone I have talked to, they have walked up to me and said, "What do we do now?" They have said, "Does it make sense for us to continue to work together as a region?" They have said, "Are we doomed in this region to mediocrity? Did we miss our last big chance? We tried something huge and it failed. Are we doomed to mediocrity?" And they have asked, "Is there any chance? Do we still have a shot at excellence? The excellence that we have come to expect in the Atlanta region?" I've mulled those questions. As a matter of fact, I've stressed out over those questions. What now? Can we continue to work together as a region? Are we doomed to mediocrity? Is there still an opportunity for excellence in our region? Apparently, I'm channeling Abraham Lincoln today because a friend of mine suggested a quote to me from Abraham Lincoln that I'd like to read to you, and I will confess that I've changed one word, the last word in this quote. These are the words of the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. "The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our case is new, so we must think anew and act anew. We must disenthrall ourselves, and then we shall save our region." And then we shall save our region. I was watching the debate last night with great interest, and I thought about reading you two quotes from Abraham Lincoln, and I thought that if I was in a debate format, that my opponent would probably say right now, "Tad, I knew Abraham Lincoln, and you're no Abraham Lincoln." And you know, whoever that opponent was would be right. I am no Abraham Lincoln, but I am capable of embracing the power of his words uttered 150 years ago and understanding how relevant those words are to the challenges that we face today, right now. So what do we do? What do we do, you know? That's the first question. What now? I want to propose a hypothetical, if you'll forgive me. I'm going to articulate a draft vision for our region, if you'll allow it. It's my vision, doesn't have to be yours, but I'm going to put it into words anyway. Let's imagine what this region might be like 50 years from today, in the year 2052. What would we like it to look like? Well, I'll tell you what I'd like it to look like. I'd like it to be a region of about 10 million people. I think that's a pretty good guess. I'd like to think that water would be clean and plentiful and available to our residents for consumption. I'd like to think that traffic would not be an issue in our region, that not only would our roads not be snarled, but that our residents, the vast majority of our residents, would have access to a variety of transportation options so that they would have choices every day as to how they would commute for work and for play. I'd like to think that we would have some of the best health care in the nation and that all of our citizens would have access to that health care. I'd like to think that our K through 12 children would have the opportunity to be extraordinarily well educated within our public school system. And most of all, I'd like to think that we had created a region where our aging population, those of us that are over the age of 65, could age and grow old with dignity, with programs and services available to them that allow them to preserve their options and their choices, and most of all, to preserve their quality of life for the balance of their life. I think it's a vision that's worth talking about, but it's my vision. I'm interested in whether you share that. But let me talk a little bit about that. Let's say, I'm still hypothetical, let's say that we agreed right now, this morning, that that is our vision for this region for 50 years from now. Let's just say that we did that. I'm not expecting that we will. Is there anybody here in this room who could single-handedly step up and make it happen? Is there a table for 10 here in this room that if you agreed together, just the 10 of you, that you would work together, could you make it happen? Is there a corner of the room, maybe 3 or 4 tables, who could band together and realize that vision over a 50-year period? You see where I'm headed. What if all 1,000 of us right now decided to work together to implement a common vision for our region? Think about who's in this room. There are a lot of people who aren't in this room, but they're all represented here. The governor's office is represented here, lieutenant governor, the state legislature, both the Senate and the House, local elected officials, the board members of the Atlanta Regional Commission, county commissioners and mayors. The mayor of Atlanta's office is represented here. Our agencies are here. I've got to look at my notes right now. GRTA, ARC, MARTA, GDOT, SRTA, DCA, ACCG, GMA, MAMA, and for all I know, ABC and XYZ. And I've probably left some out, and I do want to mention that my name is TAD. It stands for Tax Allocation District. My parents had a very strange sense of humor. So how do we get there? I have a very close friend and a mentor, a guy by the name of George Berry. I'm sure that many of you here in this room know George Berry. Years and years ago, George Berry said to me, you know, Tad, I was a youngster at the time. George Berry said to me, you know, you'll pull out of your neighborhood every morning and you'll see a stop sign that's fallen over. And every morning, you'll think somebody needs to do something about that. And then one morning, you'll see that stop sign and you'll say, I need to do something about that. And that is the day that you become a leader. So I want you to know that the ARC is prepared to do something about it. I want to go back to Abraham Lincoln's remarks. Did you hear the word disenthrall? I had to look it up. Many of you may know what it means, but I had to look it up. You know what it means? It means set your mind free. It means let your mind release the obsolete theories and make room for the new theories. So let me go back to the questions. What do we do now? I'm going to go out on a limb. I suggest that what we do now is for the 1,000 of us that are in this room and the people that we represent and the people that we can influence to work together to agree on a collective vision for our region. Not a plan, not a mission, a vision for our region. Number 2, does it make sense for us to continue to work together as a region? Not only does it make sense, it's mandatory. We cannot solve the problems that we are facing today individually as people, individually as cities, individually as counties, or individually at Atlanta Regional Commission unless all of us commit to work together as a region. It's mandatory that we continue to work together as a region. Are we doomed to mediocrity? Hell no. Mediocrity is not acceptable, not in Atlanta, Georgia, not in this region. And is excellence still achievable? I worried that what do we do next? I worried that should we work together as a region was actually the current state of the region. And now I believe, after thinking about it, after mulling it over and listening to the words of Abraham Lincoln, now I believe that excellence is not only within our reach, but assuming that we work together and bring those who we represent and those that we can influence to the table to work together with us, then excellence is virtually guaranteed for our region. We all live here. Is there anyone who doesn't want to sign up for that? ARC. I chair the ARC. We were established 60 years ago. Our purpose is to plan for this region, 30 years, 50 years. We develop transportation plans. It is also our job to convene the regional dialogue. It's our job to be the voice of the region, and we intend to do that job. But we also intend to disenthrall ourselves. We intend to let go of 55 or 60 years of theories that we've held in our head as a bureaucracy and empower our staff and empower our leadership and empower our board to open our minds to new theories and to new opportunities for working together. And we at the ARC will do our job. We will plan for this region. We will convene the dialogue for any of you who would like to attend for collaborating and cooperating around a regional vision. And once we have agreed on that regional vision, we will do plans, we will do goals and objectives, and we will do action steps to help us to move towards that vision. We will lead when leadership is called for, and we will participate and follow when our partners at GRTA, GDOT, MARTA, the governor's office, the list that I gave you earlier, we will follow and participate when they are leading, but we will be part of the solution and we will disenthrall ourselves and never anymore be part of the problem. I look forward as chairman of the ARC, as does our staff, our board, and our executive director on his anniversary. I look forward to working with everyone in this room and the people that you influence and the people that you know and the people that you represent to agree collectively around a common vision and then to take steps to implement that vision for what I believe is the greatest region in the nation. Thank you very much.